The night sky was dark when the human arrived at the alien village. His boots were heavy with dust, his breath short, and his eyes filled with hope. He had walked for miles across the barren land, searching for food, water, and safety. Finally, he found a small cluster of glowing huts, strange yet welcoming. The village looked alive with light, as if fireflies were trapped inside the walls. The human paused at the entrance, unsure if he should go inside, but hunger pushed him forward, and desperation guided his steps. The first alien he saw was tall with silver skin. Her eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, and her hands carried a strange wooden staff. She looked at him with curiosity, tilting her head like she was studying. "An unknown creature, human," she whispered, her voice soft but echoing in the air. Others began to gather, their bodies shimmering under the village lights. Some smiled, some whispered to each other, and some simply stared in silence. The human felt uneasy, but he forced himself to stay calm. The village elder soon appeared. He was older than the rest, his skin darker, his eyes brighter. He wore a robe made of shining threads, and he walked with slow, steady steps. The crowd moved aside as he approached the human. The elder's eyes studied him carefully, and then he spoke. "You are welcome here, traveler. We have been waiting for someone like you." The human frowned, confused, but also relieved to hear words of kindness. The elder gestured for him to follow. They walked through the village, and the human noticed how different everything was. The huts were shaped like shells, glowing from within. Strange plants grew in the corners, their leaves moving as if alive. The air was thick with a sweet scent, almost like honey. Everywhere he turned, he saw alien women watching him with strange expressions. Some smiled warmly, some looked serious, but all of them seemed curious. The elder brought him to a large hut at the center. Inside, the walls glowed with soft blue light. A table made of crystal stood in the middle, covered with food unlike anything he had seen. The human stared at the fruits, the breads, and the shining drink. His stomach growled loudly, making some aliens chuckle softly. The elder gestured for him to eat, and he obeyed. The food was sweet and warm, filling his empty belly with strength. As he ate, the elder spoke again. "You are far from your home, human, and we know the world has not been kind to you." The human nodded silently, remembering the long journey, the hunger, the loneliness. "But here," the elder continued, "you will find purpose, you will find respect, and you will find family." The words comforted him, but they also carried a strange weight. He wondered why the elder spoke of purpose as if it was already decided. Still, he stayed quiet, focusing on the food before him. After the meal, the human was given a place to rest. The hut was simple but warm, with soft glowing walls and a bed made of woven fibers. As he lay down, he could still hear whispers outside. The alien voices spoke in hushed tones, repeating the word human again and again. He felt both welcomed and watched, comforted and uneasy. Sleep came slowly, filled with strange dreams of silver eyes and glowing hands. The next morning, he woke to the sound of soft chimes. The village was alive with activity. Aliens moved around carrying baskets, singing low songs, and preparing food. The humans stepped outside and saw children running, their laughter ringing in the air. For a moment, he felt peace, as if this place could truly become his new home. But then he noticed something strange. Every time he walked past, the aliens stopped and stared at him. Their eyes followed him with quiet curiosity, their whispers filling the air. The women especially looked at him with interest, some even smiling knowingly. He tried to ignore it, but the feeling grew stronger. It was as if he was not just a guest but the center of their attention. Later that day, the elder called him to the meeting hut. This time, more villagers were present, their eyes fixed on him. The elder raised his hand and spoke with authority. "This human has come to us in our time of need, and he shall be given the sacred work." The crowd cheered softly, bowing their heads in respect. The human froze, his mind racing with questions. Sacred work. What did that mean? What kind of job was this? The elder smiled at him, calm and confident. "You will learn soon," he said, his voice deep and final. And in that moment, the human felt a chill run down his spine. He realized this was no ordinary job. Something was hidden beneath the warm welcome. Something the village was not yet telling him, and though he tried to stay calm, the feeling of suspense grew heavier with every heartbeat. The human woke early the next morning. The village already alive with soft songs and glowing lights. He stepped out of his small hut and felt the fresh air brush against his skin. Alien children ran past him, laughing, their feet barely touching the ground as if they were lighter than air. Women carried baskets filled with strange fruits, and men prepared tools made of crystal and stone. Everything felt alive and peaceful. Yet the human could not shake the memory of last night's words. Sacred work, the elder had said, and those words echoed in his mind like a drumbeat. As he walked toward the center of the village, the stares returned everywhere he went. The villagers stopped to watch him. Some whispered softly, their silver eyes shining with curiosity. Others bowed their heads slightly. As if he already held some kind of honor, the human felt nervous, his heart beating faster with every glance. It was clear they had chosen him for something, but he still did not know what. The elder was waiting for him inside the great hut. This time, the room was filled with several important villagers. Women with long silver robes, men carrying staffs decorated with glowing stones. They all turned to look at him as he entered, their faces calm but serious. The elder raised his hand, and silence fell across the room. "Human," the elder said, his deep voice filling the space, "we welcome you again. You are safe here. And you have already begun your new life among us." The human nodded politely, though his stomach tightened with unease. He could feel the weight of so many eyes on him. He wanted to ask questions, but fear kept his lips sealed. Instead, he listened carefully as the elder continued. "Our village has faced great struggle," the elder said, his tone heavy with sorrow. "Our numbers have fallen, and our future is in danger." The villagers around him lowered their heads as if mourning something unseen. The elder stepped closer, his glowing eyes fixed on the human. "We need you, human. We need your strength, your spirit, and your gift of life." The human blinked, unsure of what the elder meant. Gift of life. The words confused him, yet everyone in the room nodded in agreement. The elder smiled, though it was a smile filled with hidden meaning. "We offer you a place among us, not just as a worker, not just as a guest, but as one who carries our hope forward. In return, you shall have food, shelter, respect, and a family here." The human felt a rush of relief at the mention of food and shelter. After months of wandering, he finally had safety and a home. But the other words, family and hope, still pressed on his mind like heavy stones. He forced a small smile and asked carefully, "What kind of work will I do?" The room fell silent, and for a moment no one answered. Finally, the elder spoke again, his voice calm but firm. "All in good time, you will know your duty. For now, accept that it is the greatest honor our village can give." The human hesitated, but he knew he had little choice. Without them, he would starve or die alone in the wastelands. So he bowed his head slightly and said, "I accept." The villagers clapped their hands softly, a strange rhythmic sound that filled the hut. Some smiled warmly, others whispered prayers under their breath. The elder placed a hand on the human's shoulder, his grip strong and steady. "You have done well, human. Your path begins now." That night, the human was invited to a gathering in the village square. The air was filled with music, strange flutes and drums creating a haunting melody. Fires burned in circles, their flames glowing green and blue instead of orange. The villagers danced slowly, their movements graceful and hypnotic. The humans sat near the fire, watching as alien women approached him one by one. They offered him drinks, food, and flowers with glowing petals. Their eyes lingered on him, studying him with smiles, both gentle and mysterious. One woman leaned close and whispered, "You are the chosen." Another brushed her hand across his arm and said, "You will bring life to us." The human's heart pounded as he tried to understand their words. He forced a laugh, thinking it was some strange way of showing respect, but deep inside, unease grew heavier. Why did they keep speaking of life, of being chosen, of hope? As the night went on, he noticed the elder watching him from across the fire. The elder's eyes glowed in the dark, calm but unblinking. It was as if he was measuring every reaction, every movement, every breath. The human looked away quickly, pretending to enjoy the music and food. But the truth was clear. Something was being kept from him, something big, something that none of them dared to say out loud yet. Later, when the celebration ended, the human walked back to his hut. The villagers bowed their heads as he passed, whispering blessings and strange words, his stomach twisted with both fear and curiosity. Inside his hut, he sat on the bed, staring at the glowing walls. He replayed every word in his mind, sacred. Work, chosen, bring life, gift of life. None of it made sense, and yet all of it felt connected. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, "What have I agreed to?" Sleep came slowly, his dreams filled with silver eyes and glowing hands again. But this time, the faces of the alien women appeared clearer. They reached for him, smiling. Whispering his name in voices that echoed, he woke in a cold sweat, the words of the elder haunting him still. He had accepted the offer. But he had no idea what he had truly agreed to, and deep inside, he knew the truth would change everything. The next morning, the human was awakened by a soft knock on his hut door. When he opened it, two alien women stood outside, carrying baskets filled with folded clothes. Their silver skin glowed faintly in the sunlight, and their eyes shimmered with quiet curiosity. One of them smiled and said, "These are for you, human. They will mark you as part of our village." The human took the clothes hesitantly, noticing the strange patterns woven into the fabric. It was a robe, simple but elegant, and yet it looked almost ceremonial. He put it on, feeling the smooth fabric against his skin. The women watched closely, whispering to each other in their language. When he asked them what they were saying, they only smiled and said, "You look ready." They led him through the village streets. Everywhere he walked, the aliens stopped to watch, their eyes following his every step. The children laughed and ran ahead of him. Throwing glowing flower petals into the air, the human forced himself to smile, though inside his chest tightened. He did not feel ready. He felt like a stranger placed at the center of something he did not understand. The women guided him into a large hall near the edge of the village. Inside, it smelled of herbs and burning incense. Strange symbols were carved into the walls. Glowing faintly with blue light, several women sat in a circle, their robes flowing around them like liquid silver. They turned their eyes toward the human the moment he entered. He felt as if he had stepped into a ceremony, though no one explained what it was. One of the women handed him a bowl filled with sweet liquid. "Drink," she said, her voice gentle but firm. He raised it to his lips, tasting something warm and strange. It made his body feel lighter, his mind sharper, and his heart beat calmer. The women nodded approvingly, whispering again in their secret words. The human swallowed nervously, realizing he had no control over what was happening. Then the elder entered the hall, his glowing eyes focused only on the human. "You are ready to begin your duties." he said, his voice carrying across the chamber. The human stiffened and asked, "What kind of duties?" The elder did not answer directly, instead raising his hand toward the circle of women. "These will guide you. They will prepare you. They will teach you what must be done." The human frowned, glancing at the women, who smiled at him with calm patience. He wanted to demand answers, but something in their eyes silenced him. The women led him through tasks that seemed unusual. He was asked to sit with them, to touch strange crystals that pulsed with light. He was told to place his hands in bowls of glowing water and repeat words he did not understand. They laughed softly when he made mistakes, but always corrected him gently. At times, they asked him questions about his own kind. How humans live, how they love, how they continue their bloodlines. The human hesitated at these questions. Feeling their weight, he gave simple answers, though the women listened with deep interest. Their eyes always flickered with something more, something expectant. Later, they brought him outside to a garden filled with tall, glowing plants. The human was told to walk between them while the women sang a low, melodic song. The plants seemed to bend toward him, their leaves brushing his arms as if alive. He felt a strange warmth spread through his chest. It was as if the entire garden recognized him. Responding to his presence, the women clapped their hands softly, nodding in approval. "You are accepted." One whispered, "You belong here now." As days passed, his duties became stranger. Instead of working with tools or building huts, he was always placed among the women. They asked him to spend hours with them, talking, listening, sharing stories of his past. They gave him food, drink, and songs, making sure he was never tired or hungry at night. Some even sat outside his hut, keeping watch. The human began to realize this was not a job at all. It was something else, something they had not yet spoken clearly. One evening, he walked through the village alone. He overheard whispers behind him, two women speaking softly. "The human is strong. He will give us many children," one said. The words froze him in place, his blood turning cold. He turned quickly, but the women only smiled at him. Bowing their heads, he walked faster, his heart pounding. Now he understood why they had kept their secret hidden. They did not want a worker. They wanted something much deeper. That night, when he lay in his hut, sleep refused to come. He stared at the glowing ceiling, his mind filled with questions and fear. Why him? Why did they believe he could give them life? And what would happen if he refused? The thought of leaving crossed his mind, but the memory of the wasteland outside returned. He had nowhere else to go, no food, no safety, no chance of survival alone. He was trapped between hunger and a duty he never agreed to. The next morning, the elder visited him again. "You are adjusting well," the elder said calmly. "Soon you will fulfill your role completely." The human forced a smile and nodded. Though his stomach knotted tighter, he wanted to shout, to demand the truth, but his voice stayed silent. The elder placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "You are the future of this village, human, and we honor you." Then the elder left, leaving the human in silence. The words "future of this village" echoed in his head like a heavy drum. And deep inside, he knew the truth was finally closing in. The job he thought he had found was nothing like he imagined. It was something far more dangerous, far more permanent, and soon he would have to decide if he could accept it or find a way to escape. The human sat in silence the next morning. Staring at the glowing walls of his hut, he could no longer ignore the whispers he had heard. Everywhere he walked, eyes followed him. Not with fear, not with anger, but with expectation. It was as if the entire village had already decided his future, and he was the last one to know it. When the knock came at his door, he already knew who it was. The elder stepped inside, his glowing eyes calm and unblinking. "Human," the elder said, "it is time you understood why you are here." The human stood quickly, his hands trembling, his chest tight with fear. He wanted answers. But part of him already knew the truth. The elder led him out of the hut and toward the largest building in the village. The villagers bowed their heads as he passed, whispering prayers under their breath. Some of the alien women smiled softly at him, their eyes filled with hope. The human kept walking, though his legs felt heavy. The closer they came to the great hall, the stronger the tension grew inside him. Inside the hall, the air smelled of burning herbs and strange flowers. The walls glowed brighter here, and symbols pulsed with shifting colors. At the center stood a circle of women, dressed in robes of silver and white. Their faces were calm, but their eyes shone with intensity. They turned as one to face him. And the elder raised his hand. "This is the moment," the elder said. His voice echoing across the hall, "The truth must be spoken, and the human must know his purpose." The women bowed their heads and began to hum a low melody. The sound vibrated through the room, deep and heavy, almost like a heartbeat. The human swallowed hard, his pulse racing. He wanted to run, but his feet refused to move. The elder stepped closer and looked into his eyes. "Our people are dying, human. Our numbers fall with each passing year. Our bodies weaken. Our children are fewer. Our future is fading." The elder's voice grew heavier, each word striking like a hammer. "We sought an answer, and the stars sent you to us." The human froze, his breath caught in his throat. "What do you mean?" he whispered, though he already feared the answer. The elder placed a hand on his shoulder, firm and unshakable. "You are not here to farm, not here to build, not here to fight. You are here to bring life." The words hit him like a stone. He staggered back, shaking his head, his heart pounding. "No," he muttered. "That's not what I came here for." But the elder's eyes did not waver. "It is the most sacred duty, the most honored role we can give. You will join with our women, and through you, our bloodline will survive." The women stepped forward, their silver robes flowing softly across the ground. One of them spoke, her voice kind but heavy. "We do not wish to harm you. Human, we only wish for hope. Our people are fading, and you are the only one who can save us." Her eyes shimmered with tears, but her gaze never left him. The human stomach twisted as the truth unfolded before him. All the whispers, the strange duties, the curious stares, it all made sense now. They had chosen him not for his strength, not for his skills, but for his ability to give them children. He was not a worker. He was not a guest. He was a solution, a tool, a savior they would not allow to walk away. He clenched his fists, anger and fear battling inside him. "This isn't a job," he said, his voice trembling. "This is something else. You tricked me." The elder shook his head slowly, his voice calm and steady. "We did not trick you. Human, we sheltered you, we fed you, we gave you respect. In return, we ask for the one thing only you can give." The human turned, searching the faces of the women around him. Some looked desperate, others hopeful, but none of them looked cruel. He could see their pain, their fear of extinction, and yet he could not accept that his life had been stolen. So easily he stepped back toward the door, his chest heaving. "I never agreed to this," he shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. The elder lowered his head as if expecting this response. "You may resist, but in time you will. Understand, this is not a prison. Human, this is your destiny." The women began to hum again, their voices rising like waves. The sound filled the hall, pressing against him like invisible hands. He covered his ears, but the song sank into his chest, making his heartbeat match their rhythm. When the song ended, the elder spoke once more. "You cannot escape what you are meant to do. The village has chosen, and so have the stars." The human staggered outside, his mind spinning, his body shaking. The villagers looked at him as he passed, their eyes filled with the same hope and hunger. He felt trapped, suffocated, caught in a web he could not cut. Back in his hut, he collapsed onto the bed, his thoughts racing. He replayed the elder's words again and again. Bring life, sacred duty, our survival. The truth had finally been revealed, and it was worse than he imagined. He had thought he found safety. But instead, he had been given a burden heavier than he could carry, and now he knew the village would never let him walk away. The human sat alone in his hut, his hands pressed tightly against his head. The elder's words echoed inside his mind like a curse he could not escape. He had not come here to save a dying race. He had come here only to survive. Food, shelter, rest, those were all he wanted. But now he was being pulled into something far greater. The village looked at him as their savior, but he felt more like a prisoner. Every breath he took carried the weight of expectation. Every glance from the villagers reminded him of the burden that night he tried to sleep. But his mind refused to rest. He dreamed of children with silver eyes and human faces. He dreamed of women whispering his name in soft voices. He dreamed of the elder standing at the edge of his bed, saying again and again, "You cannot escape your duty." When he awoke, sweat clung to his skin, and his chest ached with fear. He knew he had to make a choice, but neither path gave him peace. The next day, the villagers continued to treat him with honor. They brought him food, they sang songs for him, they smiled as if he was already one of them. But behind every smile, he saw the same question, the same need: would he accept? Or would he resist? The human forced himself to smile back, though his heart was in turmoil later. The elder called him again to the great hall. "You have seen our need, human," the elder said, his voice calm and heavy. "Our people do not demand this of you, but we plead for it. If you stay, if you accept, we will protect you, we will honor you, we will make you family. And if I refuse?" The human asked sharply. The elder's smile faded, and the room grew silent. "No one refuses the stars," the elder whispered. "And no one refuses the survival of a people." The human's fists tightened, anger boiling inside him. "I am not a tool," he shouted, his voice trembling. "I am not here to be used." But the elder did not flinch, his glowing eyes steady as stone. "You are here because fate brought you here," he said, "whether you accept willingly or not. The choice will still find you." The human stormed out of the hall, his chest burning with rage. He walked through the village, feeling every pair of eyes turned to him. The children smiled, the women whispered, the men bowed their heads. To them, he was no longer a stranger. He was the answer to their survival. And that thought filled him with fear. That night, one of the alien women came to his hut. She carried no basket, no gifts, only a quiet expression. Her eyes glowed faintly as she stepped inside, her voice soft. "You are troubled, human," she said. "I can see it in your face." He wanted to tell her to leave, but the words caught in his throat. She sat down across from him, her gaze calm and steady. "You think we want to force you, but that is not true," she whispered. "We want you to understand us first." The human stared at her, his anger softening for a moment. "What do you want me to understand?" he asked, his voice low. The woman lowered her head, her silver hair falling across her shoulders. "Our children are fewer each season, our mothers weaker, our songs quieter. We do not know why, but our future fades before us." Her voice trembled as she spoke, though her words were steady. "We do not ask you to be a prisoner, we ask you to be our hope." The human's chest tightened with conflict. He could see the pain in her eyes, the fear that her people would vanish, and yet he still felt trapped, still felt like his own choice had been stolen. He turned away, whispering, "But what about me? What about my freedom?" The woman was silent for a long time, then finally said, Perhaps your freedom and our survival can become the same." She stood and left the hut, leaving the human with nothing but silence and his racing thoughts. For hours, he sat alone. His mind divided into two paths. If he stayed, he would never again be his own man. His life would belong to the village, but if he left, he would face the wasteland again. Empty and hopeless, the memory of hunger and loneliness haunted him. The memory of wandering without direction, could he survive that again? Could he live knowing he had walked away from saving an entire people? The following day, the elder gathered the village in the square. The human stood at the center, the villagers surrounding him in a wide circle. The elder raised his hand and said, "The time has come. The human must choose his path." The crowd fell silent, their glowing eyes all fixed on him. He felt his heart hammer in his chest, sweat sliding down his skin, the weight of their hope pressed down on him like a mountain. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Every choice he could make felt like a trap. The elder stepped forward, his voice calm and commanding. "Do you choose to accept the sacred work and stay as one of us? Or do you choose to walk away into the wasteland, alone and without purpose?" The villagers waited, their breaths held, their eyes filled with light. The human looked at them, then at the alien woman who had spoken to him the night before. Her gaze was filled not with demand, but with quiet hope. He felt his chest tighten with pain. Caught between two impossible choices in that moment, he realized his decision would not just shape his own life. It would shape the destiny of an entire race. The human stood in the village square. Surrounded by glowing eyes and expectant faces, the elder waited for his answer. But the human could not speak. His heart pounded like a drum, his chest heavy with fear and confusion. He wanted to run, yet something in the crowd kept him still. Among all the staring faces, one pair of eyes stood out. It was the same woman who had visited him at night, the one who had spoken with kindness. Her gaze was calm, filled not with demand, but with quiet hope, and in that moment he felt a bond form. Fragile yet unbreakable, the elder lowered his hand and ended the gathering. The human needs time. He declared, "The stars will guide him." The villagers bowed their heads and dispersed. Though their whispers lingered in the air, the human returned to his hut, his mind heavy with doubt. But that night, the same woman came again. Stepping softly into the glowing room, she sat across from him, her silver hair falling gracefully around her face. "You are afraid," she said gently, "but you are not alone." The human looked at her, his anger fading slowly. "Why do you care?" he asked, his voice low and tired. The woman smiled faintly, her eyes shining in the dim light. "Because I understand you," she whispered, "and because you understand us." Her words struck him deeply. And for the first time since his arrival, he felt less like a prisoner. He felt like someone was seeing him not as a tool, but as a person. Over the following days, the woman spent more time with him. She taught him the songs of the village, the stories of her people. She showed him how they once flourished, how the skies once filled with their children's laughter. But she also showed him the graves, the silent places where no voices sang anymore. Her honesty touched him, because she did not hide their pain behind ceremony. She spoke not as someone desperate for survival, but as someone who simply wished to be understood. The human found himself opening up in return. He told her of his own world, of long journeys, of loneliness, of hunger. He told her how he once had a family, but lost them to war and famine. He spoke of walking through wastelands, searching for meaning. She listened quietly, her eyes never leaving his face. When he finished, she placed her hand gently on his. "You carry pain like we do," she whispered. "That is why the stars sent you here." At first, he pulled his hand away, unsure of the feelings rising inside him, but each day, the bond between them grew stronger. They walked together through the glowing gardens. They laughed softly when The children followed them, giggling behind silver leaves. She explained how their songs carried life, how every melody was meant to call new beginnings. The human felt a strange peace in her presence, a comfort he had not known in years. One evening, she led him to the river beyond the village. The water shimmered under the starlight, glowing faintly like liquid silver. They sat by the bank, the sound of the current wrapping them in calm silence. The woman looked at him, her expression soft. "You believe you have no choice," she said, "but choice is not always what it seems." The human frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" She lowered her gaze, brushing her fingers through the glowing water. "You can choose anger and hate, and this place will be a cage. Or you can choose understanding, and it may become a home." Her words lingered in his mind long after they returned to the village. For the first time, he began to see that not every villager wanted to trap him. Some wanted to know him, some wanted to care for him. And she was the proof. The elder spoke of destiny, but this woman spoke of compassion, and that difference stirred something deep in his heart. As days passed, the villagers noticed the bond as well. They saw how she walked beside him, how her laughter softened his frown. They whispered her name when they spoke of him. Some even smiled with relief, as if her presence meant he might finally accept his place. The elder, too, watched, his glowing eyes sharp. He said nothing, but his silence carried weight. One night, the woman brought him a small gift. It was a pendant shaped like a star, carved from glowing crystal. "This is yours," she whispered, placing it in his hand. "It will remind you that you are not only human, you are part of something greater now." The human held the pendant, feeling its warmth against his skin. For the first time since his arrival, his heart did not feel as heavy. But deep inside, the conflict remained. He had grown close to her. He had found comfort in her kindness. Yet he still feared what the elder demanded, what the villagers expected. Could his bond with her make the choice easier, or would it only make it harder? That night, as he lay awake, he stared at the glowing pendant in his hand. The woman's voice echoed in his mind. Understanding can turn a cage into a home. And for the first time, he wondered if his destiny was not forced upon him, but slowly becoming something he chose for himself. The human stood at the edge of the village, staring at the horizon. The wasteland stretched endlessly before him, dry and merciless. If he walked into it, he would face hunger, thirst, and death behind him. The village glowed with light, filled with songs and whispers. He felt trapped between two worlds, one of freedom and emptiness, and one of safety and responsibility. For many nights, he had wrestled with the same question: should he run away and keep his life his own? Or should he stay and give it to the village? His bond with the alien woman had grown strong. She had shown him kindness, honesty, and care. Her words echoed in his mind. Understanding can turn a cage into a home. He wanted to believe her, but the weight of the elder's words still pressed heavily upon him. That morning, the elder gathered the village once again. The square was silent, every villager's eyes fixed on the human. Children stood close to their mothers. Women held their breaths. Men bowed their heads. The elder raised his staff high, his glowing eyes steady and unshaken. "The time has come," he declared. "The human must decide his path." The villagers murmured softly, their voices trembling with hope and fear. The human stepped forward, his chest tight, his hands shaking. He looked at the elder, then at the woman who stood at the edge of the crowd. Her gaze steadied him, her eyes soft but strong. For a long moment, silence hung heavy over the square. Then he finally spoke, his voice quiet but firm. "I did not come here for this, but I cannot ignore your need." Gasps rose from the crowd, whispers spreading like fire. The elder smiled faintly, lowering his staff, but the human continued, raising his voice, "I will not be forced. I will not be treated as a tool. If I stay, it is because I choose to, not because you demand it." The crowd fell silent, their glowing eyes wide with shock. Even the elder paused, studying him carefully. The human's heart pounded, but his words grew stronger. "I will stay. I will help, but only if I am respected as a man, not as a machine." For a moment, no one spoke. Then the woman stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "He speaks truth," she said. "He is not only hope for our people, he is a person. He must be honored." Her words carried weight, and the villagers listened. The elder's gaze softened slightly. Though his eyes still glowed with power, he lowered his staff and nodded. Slowly, "Then it shall be so," he said. "The human stays, and he is one of us." The crowd erupted in soft cheers, their hands clapping in rhythm. Children laughed. Women smiled with tears in their eyes. Men bowed deeply. But the human did not smile yet. He looked once more at the woman beside him. Her hand found his, warm and steady. And for the first time, he felt his heart accept the choice. The days that followed were filled with change. The villagers treated him not as a prisoner, but as a member of their people. He worked in the gardens. He sang their songs. He ate at their fires, and slowly, he found himself belonging. The whispers of fear faded, replaced by voices of trust and laughter. The elder still watched him closely, but now with respect instead of demand. At night, he sat with the woman by the glowing river. They spoke of the future, of children, of life. She no longer spoke of him as a savior, but as a companion. He no longer saw her as part of the village alone, but as someone who had chosen him too. Their bond grew deeper, strong enough to silence his fear. One evening, the elder came to him once more. "You chose to stay," the elder said, "and your choice has given us hope." The human nodded, his eyes steady. "I stayed because I chose, not because I was forced," he answered. The elder smiled faintly, the first true smile he had ever seen from him. "And that is why the stars guided you here," the elder said softly as the days turned into weeks. The human's heart changed. He no longer thought of escape, no longer dreamed of the wasteland. Instead, he dreamed of life, of children's laughter filling the square. He dreamed of walking beside the woman, raising a new generation together. He dreamed of turning the village's fading songs into new ones filled with hope. The final decision had been made, not by the elder, not by the villagers, but by him. He was no longer a wanderer searching for survival. He was part of something larger, something living, something worth protecting. And though the burden was heavy, the bond he had found made it bearable. The human stayed in the alien village, not as a prisoner, not as a tool, but as a man who had chosen his path. And under the glowing stars, the songs of the village rose again, not of sorrow, but of rebirth, not of fading, but of future. And at the center of it all stood the human, holding the hand of the woman who had given him the courage to choose.